Afternoon. My name is Bronwen Jonson, and I am Head of ICT and the Coding and Robotics Coordinator at Summerwood Primary School in Nelson Mandela Bay. I've been asked to share how I started a coding club at my school. I've been in education for 22 years, and I started my coding club in 2022. Now, when I met Professor Jean Hreiling, one thing he said to me was that he doesn't need primary school teachers to be teaching programming. He needs us to create learners who are able to think about their thinking. So that is the basis on which I started my coding club and continue to run my coding club. Now, everything I do at my coding club is in line with White Paper 7. White Paper 7 is on e-education, and it's the South African's national policy framework for integrating ICT into teaching and learning. We would like all learners in South Africa to be ICT capable. So you'll notice throughout the activities that I cover digital literacy. There's a lot of problem solving. There's inclusivity. The children get a chance to be creative and innovate. And there's a lot of collaboration and teamwork. When I timetable my coding clubs, I ensure that my learners are able to do coding along with another sport. It's important that they are out and about running. So when I timetabled it, you could see that the children come once a week, depending which day they're able to attend, and the lesson is usually an hour long. Some of the free online programs which I use Code for Life, Code.org, Scratch MIT. Our school has microbit, so I make use of MakeCode, but you can make use of this platform without the microbit. We also use Pencil Code and Blockly. In my coding club, I ensure that I expose the children to virtual reality, and by using Scratch Lab, it is a place where the Scratch developers are still experimenting and the children get an opportunity to create their own filters. Now, to be able to use Scratch Lab, the device you use would need to have a camera. But as you can see, there are 3 different activities the learners could do. Platform which the learners really enjoy interacting with virtual reality is Google Arts and Culture. It is free. It's also downloadable on an iPhone or on an Android device. And in Rewild the World, it focuses on endangered species. And through using AI, the learners are able to interact on the platform, and their hands become the hands or the fins of the endangered species. And through following the prompts, they're able to move their hands in a way that helps the endangered species rebuild their habitat. Now, this is an amazing way to be able this is an amazing tool to be able to use on as an introduction in your lessons, just to give the learners an opportunity to interact with AI in a safe way. Gamification is amazing for the learners, and a platform I make use of is called Blookit. It's similar to Kahoot. The difference is in Blookit, the learners have a choice of game they wanting to play. So you can either search in the library or you can create your own quiz for the learners to do. They then can vote, pick on a game, and then they're able to play it either in groups or on their own. And this is I think the reason the children love it is because they are the ones who are able to choose the game. So they have a role in choosing how they learn the knowledge. This is also amazing to learn in a flipped classroom setting. So if you're needing to see what your learners do already know when they come to your coding club, because you might have different grades together. You're able to create a booklet, let them play the game, and the information you get at the end will be able to help you know where to start with the group of learners you currently have. I make use of MakeCode and the microbit. The MakeCode platform is amazing, especially if you have devices your kids are able to use at your coding club. So you don't need to know everything about microbit. There are so many step-by-step tutorials which the learners are able to do, and you more become the facilitator and they follow the steps within this platform. Click on a project to do. They'll have an option of choosing between block, so that's your normal like scratch coding, Python or Java. When they click on the option they'd like to do, the code they'd like to do, you'll notice that here in the top left corner you have your own virtual microbit, and this allows the learners to code in the workspace, and then they're able to see on the simulator what their code would do if they had a microbit. So schools who don't have a microbit, the only difference is this is where your lesson would go until. If you do have a microbit, you would download it onto the microbit. So this is a lesson I did using the make code, but without taking it on and downloading it onto the microbit. So I needed to teach my learners about coordinates, and they're only in grade 5. So we started the lesson by them using or doing a battleships game. So you'll see that they were each given a card, and it had the same number of LEDs you would find on the microbit. They then had to find where their friends' ships were. When they were done, we went into the computer room and they used the makeshift code to be able to plot where their LEDs would go, to create a face, to create a shape, to create an arrow, whatever they wanted to create, they needed to plot it. So instead of using the built-in feature where you just select the LED, they had to plot it using the coordinates. I've also used the microbit for various games. We've made it into a musical instrument. We've played rock, paper, scissors. We've used it to see how electricity can travel through our body. We've also used it and connected it to the story of Alice in Wonderland, where we created the little watch the bunny shakes every time he's late. Also shown how to make their own scratch games. So we start by using the built-in sprites, and then we move on to games where they're able to create their own game. So this is a racing game where the children had to create the path, they had to create the oil spills, the sprite they were driving, and they had to create 2 costumes for the sprite, one for when it crashed and one for when it was on the path. And this gives the learners opportunity to be able to play other children's games and to get feedback from their friends when they play their games. Coding learners are working online. It's important that they know how to behave online and what to do if they experience something negative online. Kerry Lynn Thompson from Nelson Mandela Bay University has developed a program called Cyber Squad, where they teach cyber safety in a kid-friendly way. So with my coding learners, what I did, we're listen to one of the lessons from Cyber Smart Squad, and then using a platform called Pixon, the learners had to create a cartoon where one of their friends came to them saying they'd experienced something negative online. And because these learners were only grade 5, they needed to say to their friend, we need to find an adult who we can talk to. Often the learners want to try and solve the problem themselves for their friends. They think, oh, I've had a phone for 2 years, I know what to do. But it's important that the learners know first step is to tell an adult. Bricks is an amazing tool to teach computational thinking with. It's not just something for the foundation phase learners. So if you want learners to be able to collaborate as a team, they need to be able to communicate. So 6 bricks is my go-to when teaching them how to speak, how to listen, and to let their friends have an opportunity to talk. Sort of in a way teaching them how to negotiate. 6 bricks is a safe creates a safe space for the learners to learn these important skills. I've also made use of folding activities within my coding club. So yeah, the learners made a fortune teller, and they had to follow written instructions. So it's very different to following verbal instruction and written instructions. And again, you can see nobody was working on their own. They quickly partnered up, they asked each other for help, and this is creating an environment which they will find later on in life. I also enroll my kids in the various Tangible Africa competitions. The most recent one was the Juicy Gem Secret game, and this was amazing because the learners are able to compete on a device or on a laptop. Through Tangible Africa, my learners have also taken part in the design, thinking, and problem solving. We were part of the pilot program. This gave our learners an opportunity to understand the design thinking process. So they needed to look at their community, see what problems they were in the community, and come up with suggestions on how to solve the problem. The learners then created an app, and as you can see in the photos, everything was paper-based. The learners needed to draw the different screens you would find when you click on the app, and we partnered with another school in Nelson Mandela Bay called Swartkops Primary School, and together we hosted an event where we invited the community to come, and the children had an opportunity to present their app to the public. So again, the 21st century skills, the kids collaborating, coming together, the kids communicating their ideas, and the school giving them a platform to be able to showcase what they've done. Through Tangible Africa, we started an unplugged coding league in Nelson Mandela Bay. This year we added coding chess to it as well. It started with about 5 schools. We now have 13 schools which come together once a term to code against each other. We have a floating trophy, and this floating trophy goes home at the end of each term with the winning school. But this is given our learners to interact with children from all over the Bay. To start a club with younger learners, the Lego Explore is amazing for them to do. I know Lego is expensive up front, but the best part about it is Lego is very hardy. And if your learners are taught how to respect the equipment and look after it and ensure you need to ensure that you give them enough time to pack up after each lesson, it's a once-off amount of money you pay. So once you've bought the Spark Essentials kit, you then have the equipment you need to work on the Lego Spark Prime app, which is free. So the only cost is the cost of the Lego you're going to need to be able to work on this program with the children. It is such a creative program. With the Lego Explore, there is no innovation project, but the learners are encouraged to think creatively. So they might be given a carousel to build, and then they are challenged to create to see how they could change that carousel to maybe fit more people on, or how to allow disabled people to be able to go onto the carousel. So this is such a creative program, and the children up to age of 9 thoroughly enjoy it. Children between the age of 9 and 16 can take part in the Lego League Challenge. In this program, the learners use the Spark Prime, and just like the Explore, what you pay for your Lego set up front is the cost for you to run it at your school. If you're wanting to enter the different regionals, then you'd have to pay the regional fees. But if you're wanting to purchase the Lego Spark Prime and use the programs on the Spark Prime app, there are no hidden costs other than the cost of purchasing the Lego and the device you would be using. And in Nelson Mandela Bay, we've joined their 5 primary schools who do first Lego League, and we ensure that every term we get together and give the learners opportunity to either work with children from different schools or to compete with children from other schools. Some of my success stories. Yeah, I had 2 learners. We linked this to NST. They needed to, what they'd learned in NST, build a bridge which could hold cool drink bottles. And you can see in the beginning they were really, really frustrated. And this is where us as teachers, this is where our role has changed through the years. Instead of us standing there saying, put this here, put this there, we step back and the learners are given the opportunity to problem solve, and in the end they did it, which was an amazing. These are sort of the successes you can't measure, but ones which stay with you. Another success story, when my children were taking part in the Tangible Africa competition, one of my learners was struggling to remember his code, and he'd remembered that previously I'd shown them how to split their screen in half. So he split the screen in half, opened up Word, and was documenting the code he would need to use to be able to move the tractor. So this is what we want our learners to be able to do when they leave your coding club. What they've learned in coding to apply them to a real world situation. My third success story is about our most recent Unplugged coding event. We held it at the Nelson Mandela Science Centre, and this was the first time Kanyisa School for the Visually Impaired were able to join us. So they brought some visually impaired and blind learners who were able to code alongside sighted learners. My last success story is with using the microbit. Last year at the regionals in Nelson Mandela Bay, we won Best Innovation Project, and my learners managed to code a buddy diving watch. So through their research, they learned that if you lose your diving buddy while underwater, no matter how much you've paid, you've got to surface. And they created a watch using the LEDs on the microbit, where if your buddy, the further away your buddy went, the less the LEDs became on the microbit, and you were then able to ensure that you stayed in range of your buddy. So my suggestion for teachers who are wanting to start a coding club would be to reach out to all your local networks, and if there aren't any PLCs regarding coding and robotics within your town or city, create one. Even if it's with teachers in your group, by word of mouth, people will hear about it. The Lego Robotics, Summerwood was the only primary school in Nelson Mandela Bay. We now have 5 schools who are part of the Lego grant, and each term we get together and allow the learners to compete against each other. Tangible Africa is an amazing resource for teachers. They just an email or a phone call away. They've really been a huge support system for me in my journey in coding and robotics. And the Nelson Mandela Bay University, with Professor Jean Greyling and with the School of IT, any support you need, they are, again, just a phone call away or just email away. Thank you so much. I hope this has given other schools an idea of how to go about starting a coding club or what to do. The thing I've learned the most is that the learners so quickly overtake the teacher in the knowledge they're gaining. As long as you're able to be there and have the equipment ready, if it's paper, make sure there's enough paper, scissors, and be there as the facilitator, be there as the guide for the learners, and you'll see how your learners will develop. Thank you.